Plankton could be considered the coolest, the chillest, the most relaxed of any species on the planet. Why? Because they literally go with the flow. The sea is filled with millions and billions and trillions and squadrillions of tiny organisms known as plankton. It's not their official definition. The official definition of plankton is an organism that doesn't have the ability to swim against currents and lives its life moving with ocean currents, which actually can mean that they become, could be things like massive giant jellyfish that are the size of double-decker buses, because they can't move against the current. But for the sake of this video, plankton are the awesome and absolutely planet-changing group of species that live in the marine environment. And today we are going to be honouring them on a notebook. For those of you who know me, I am addicted to these notebooks. They are my kryptonite. I can't not buy them. They are just the best notebooks ever, and these have a very special place in my heart. But enough about my love of these books. The reason I have got this one and I needed to buy a new one is actually a justified reason. I have this type of soft cover Moleskine notebook for my PhD notes, so I take all my notes in them. I need a notebook that's going to withstand going in the lab and being carried around everywhere, so I need a good type of one, and this is great for it. But I kind of ran out of buying all the bright colours and it kind of left me only with black, so I decided that I would draw on the cover of this Moleskine something related to my PhD. Obviously I was very tempted just to draw barnacles on the top of it, but something that's probably, and it pains me to say, more important to my study than specifically barnacles are well, it involves plankton. Now, my area of research is biofouling, which is basically when all the animals that you find in rock pools decide to settle on man-made materials instead, and I'm pretty much focusing on concrete. So why is plankton important to my study? Well, not all plankton that live in the water column remain there for their entire lives. That's because a lot of rock pooling species don't move. And it's a bit like trees. When you are taught in school that trees pollinate with pollen and spread far away so that not everything is settling in the same place, it's exactly the same in the sea. An anemone doesn't want to be competing with its children. And also, they have an inability to reach other anemones. Other anemones are going to be much further away, and so they spawn and release into the water column where larvae, which are basically the children, then can spend anywhere from hours to months meandering in the water column as plankton before they start to look for a new place to settle. And if that new place to settle happens to be concrete, then I am interested in it. There are an amazing diverse array of plankton, and I must admit it's something that I'm not really too massively knowledgeable about. I kind of study the species once they've grown up a bit because they're easier to identify when they're not, microscopic. But it's something that fascinates me. I did do a bit of research kind of into this before making this video. There are some cool guides to plankton in the UK, but I really found myself lacking because I don't have any books on plankton. I think that's something I really probably should invest in next, to learn a bit more about these species in the sea. But they are absolutely stunning and absolutely gorgeous, and I thought it was the perfect thing to put on the front of this the front of my PhD to see every day these gorgeous creatures that will be hopefully settling on my concrete, and I'll be able to see them when they've grown up as adults. It's basically like carrying baby pictures around on the front of this. Now, I chose a few species that I knew, and other species I just had a look and I thought they were pretty, so put them on. I did really struggle to find any pictures or guides that showed a photo. There were some good guides that showed like drawing illustrations, but not so much on like a visual picture. And without having a book or having a particularly large amount of time this week to invest into learning all the different wondrous types of plankton, which I'm sure would take more than a few hours, more like a few many years. So I can't actually pin some of them to species, but I can say that I will put the ones I do know names to it at the end as I kind of re-show you what I've drawn. But I just wanted to say that if you're interested in plankton, then I do really want to brush up and make my own full-on video giving a lot more detail. But if you're itching for it in the meantime, I would recommend following Dr. Richard Kirby on Twitter. He studies plankton and has absolutely amazing photos and videos of the research that he does, and shows you what species they are. So if this, just seeing it through art, is of particular interest to you, I promise you if you watch his videos and see plankton in real life, they will be even more amazing, because they all look like little mini aliens and there's hundreds of thousands of them, and you can't quite believe that he has just taken them from the sea. So it's definitely something I recommend you follow if you found this interesting or you found these pretty. So here are just the ones I think I know. Barnacles actually have lots of life stages, but I resisted and just put the main one that settles right on the front cover, of course. But I really hope you guys like this video. I really love my new custom designed Plankton Moleskine notebook. And a little reminder that if the PhD doesn't go well, there's always Plan Z. I hope you have a great week, guys. I will see you next Wednesday with yet again another video.